Hello and welcome everyone to the Forgotten OneCast. I am your host, CJP, and tonight we're going to be talking about a little topic called self-recording. And this is something that has dramatically changed over the last, I'd say at least 20, 25, 30 years. And we'll be joined shortly by Paul Hadouken, talented musician who does a lot of kind of really what I do, recording on his own. So while he's having some technical difficulties, so he will join us shortly. But to begin, no one in the chat yet. I see people lurking. Say hi if you're here. I'm here. Hi. How you doing? But yeah, just kind of gives you an idea on the channel. We talk music. That's what we like to do. We talk about music in all its forms and permutations, how it touches humanity, how it has shaped and changed society, how we like it, bands that we like, bands that we don't, things like that. Just, music in general, whatever tickles our fancy, whatever we want to talk about on it. And self-recording is a big subject for me because that's pretty much all I do. I don't have, massive studio access nor the funds to do so. So I've been for at least the last 15, 20 years, just recording on my own and, trying to, make my own mark in the world. And, Mr. Tulsa's in the, yeah, you can see me in high definition. I know I'm probably going to break YouTube. They're going to take a look at my face and go, oh, ban. Oh, we got Melanie K of Melee K of Melee Games. Howdy, CD and Paul chat music. Melee, we had her as a guest on the Legion of Memers meme stream again on talk tonight, and they're a wonderful group. Check out their channel, Melee Games, on YouTube. They do replays and stuff like that. So it's a great channel to follow and watch. But and the song playing in the background from my first album, electronic music. It's all recorded at home, especially during COVID. COVID was a big thing for doing self-recording because where the hell else are you going to go? So if you guys want to hear some more, let me know. I'll turn up the tunage. But don't forget, you can follow me, like and subscribe here on YouTube. I'm on Twitter at Forgotten1 Music. I do have a Rumble channel, Forgotten1 Music. So follow us both over there. I'm trying to figure out how to do the live stream over there, but they don't let you do a schedule more than like a day, it seems like. So as soon as I figure that cross section out, we'll get going over there as well. But let's see here. What do we want to do while we're waiting for Mr. Paul? Bit of housekeeping. I will be out. We won't have a show next week because I'm finally going to go visit my sister for the first time in, 3 years now. It's been 3 years. Yeah, it's been 3 years. So I'm going to go visit her, take my daughters down, and we're just going to spend a week chilling. No live streaming, no YouTubing, no nothing. Just hanging, doing stuff. It's going to be fun. I could use the break, especially with school getting ready to start the next week. Which I remember as a kid, school started in like September. So they just keep moving closer and closer and not really ending it any sooner. So I don't know. Sorry. You got to groove to your own music, Although, you can always go with the old joke, when you're recording your own music, you literally are playing with yourself. Yeah, I know. But yeah, so we're waiting for Paul. Figure we might actually show you kind of some of the pre-recorded stuff I've done over the years. Let me pause this track here. And we'll pull this up. I apologize. There's no video for it. It's just an old audio that I've done over the years. This was a song I wrote called "Flavor of the Week." It was written about a girl I dated in college for literally a day, and she was already dating another guy the next day. So C'est la vie, as it goes. Let's see. What's the favorite track? Ooh, that's a hard question because I like different tracks that I've made for different reasons. Like I love Relentless, the one that was playing in the background, just because it just had that kind of drive that I was looking for. That I was still fairly new to making electronic music, and so it was kind of my this was my crowning achievement of that year, trying to get that done. Aw, thanks, Melly K. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I just love making music. That's just the I've done it since I was 10 years old. I mean, I don't know anything else. But here it is. This is the first time I think I've played it for anyone other than family and friends. So be gentle. No lyrics, by the way. I've got lyrics written. I just haven't recorded them. And that was CJP bringing you Flavor of the Week on CJP Radio. Sorry, I can't help myself. I don't really have a DJ voice, but I tried my best. But yeah, that was a fun track to ride, and I that's one reason I like kind of being a master of many, but or jack of all trades, master of none, as it were. Being able to playing the bass if I need to, play the guitar if I need to, play drums because I like to, play keyboards because I mean, they make you take piano in college no matter what instrument you do, even if you're a vocalist, you still take piano if you're a music major, which is a good thing, actually. I don't mind that so much. It was annoying at the time, but I don't mind it so much now because it's a valuable skill to learn. the Hi, and welcome to the Forgotten OneCast. I am your host, CJP. Today's topic is self recording, and we will be taking a journey through the times and ways that people have recorded themselves over the years. So I can't do that too long. It's going to put myself to sleep. But and of course, back in my day when I was doing the recording, I kind of did it in a bass backwards way. Um, I didn't have a USB interface to do it, so what I did was I used a what's called a J station by Johnson. I'll show you what I mean by that. Also knows what I mean. I'll share my screen and I'll show you what it looks like. This is a J station. It was an amp modeling system made in the 90s by Johnson Amplification, and it had some of the best modeling, especially even back in the day. And it was updatable. You could actually use the MIDI to MIDI in and download patches from the internet, which was, nowadays you can do that through Bluetooth on a phone. It's very simple, drag and drop. So it was a little bit more complicated situation back in the day. But the way I was able to do this was I would plug into my effects pedal and then this, and then I would go from this with the SPD. I have the SPDIF out into I had a Audigy 2 card by Creative that actually had a SPDIF in. So I was able to record SPDIF in. It's just because you didn't know how to work it, Jeff. That's the reason. I still have mine and I use it to this day. I love that thing. Is there better now? Oh gosh, by far. Modeling's come a long way, but for late 90s, early 2000s, it worked just perfect. But I do want to point out Jeff is a friend of mine from high school that we've known each other for on 30 years almost now. Also a phenomenal classical guitarist. Phenomenal. I sit in awe and I'm like, I could never play like that. But we did play together years ago for churches, which was a lot of fun. I kind of miss those days. Well, of course I was using it all wrong. I was doing it backwards. I was going SPDIF out from that to the creative card. So yeah, that was the J session. That was my first foray into home recording. So then I did eventually upgrade to a Pro Tools unit, which I'm upset because I'm still using Pro Tools 8, and you can't find a copy of 9 or 10 without spending a ridiculous amount of money for it. And I don't want to go to the subscription model. I just don't. I just really don't. But I have a Digio 3 console that I'd love to use, so I'm just kind of stick with it. Of course, it's not the oldest I've seen. There was a artist in Tulsa by the name of Ace, and he had a little recording studio in his house, and he had a Digio 1, and he wasn't going to upgrade. He didn't want to. He had it set up how it worked. He just went with it, and I can't blame him. When you find something that works, and it changes is not easy. Change is not easy when it comes to these kind of things, especially learning a new DAW. Going from Sonar to Pro Tools was, definitely a switch. And then even going back to Cakewalk once it became a free program, just because Pro Tools doesn't use VSTs well, and I've always hated them for that. Like, seriously, it's an industry standard format. Just use it. I haven't actually got a chance to use Reaper yet. There's a guy who runs sound for us at the church I'm playing at now that uses it quite a bit. It's like $60 and it has pretty much all the functionality you need. But I just haven't gone to that because I would have to get a USB interface with XLR to be able to do that. And I'm a poor boy. Nobody loves me. Anyway, still waiting on Paul. Not exactly sure where he's at. So let's see. So yeah, trying to figure out what to talk about since we're going to talk to Paul about it. Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. Stop that screen. Stop it, screen. Don't do that. Don't do that at all. Yeah, I feel you there. There's times when I'm getting ready to go on a live stream and for another person's channel, and then all of a sudden, my computer's like, "Oh wait, I don't actually see a webcam, even though it's been hooked up to the same USB port for months on end." And I don't understand why it doesn't see it. But it's just one of those things that happens. But I do actually miss that old creative sound card because it actually had a lot of inputs for your computer that you wouldn't normally have without an interface. So you could still do things without having to have the massive amount of money to spend for a Pro Tools rig back in the day. See if I can find a good picture of one. Here we go. Yeah, this was the card I had. It was the Audigy 2ZS. But I mean, it had SPDIF in and out, had optical in and out. You had a line in, and then it did have MIDI as well as FireWire, right there in the front. So it had a lot of options for a card that was 20 years old, and it got me by for quite a long time using that. So I can't complain about it too much. There's a good shot of it. So yeah, you had MIDI in and out. You had your FireWire. So they don't make this kind of stuff for computers anymore because it's all built into an interface. Yeah. 2-inch tape. I remember in college, I took an electronic music course, and we started off with a mini Moog synthesizer. Poor people use it, Jeff. Poor people use FireWire. That's what poor people do, like me. But no, we took this electronic music course. It was really awesome because we started off with a Moog synthesizer and an old reel to reel tape recorder. So we actually would create our sounds through the synthesizer, record it into the tape machine. I still have one. Okay, I have a console Sony one, and I have a little JVC portable one, and I still love them. You can bash them any disc all you want. I still love them. But yeah, actually doing tape loops, reverse tape splices, just doing it old school, really does make you appreciate what you can do with technology and how easy it is in, DAW just to flip and reverse and to add effects. And, I kind of almost think that we almost have too much freedom with this technology these days. Cause, you look back at like say the Beatles or bands that were recording in the late 60s and early 70s having 4 to 8 tracks to work with, and that's it. You couldn't go any farther because like the version of Bohemian Rhapsody we have because if they'd made any more overdubs, that tape would have snapped and they'd lost it or just had to do a lot of repair work. So you know technology's made things easier, but it's also I think kind of made us lazy in a way because we have just a plethora of options to work with. Plethora. I do love that phrase. A plethora. But yes, I do have one of these still. I do still have a mini disc console unit. I think it actually may be that model. Yeah, I think it is actually. But it was fun to work with. I mean, it recorded like a tape, but it was digital like a CD, so you could still make your mixtapes. But then I have to worry about wearing out. I think they even still release mini disc in Japan, if I'm not mistaken. Of course, it's Japan. You know, all the weird stuff comes from Japan. Yeah, like I said, it never actually failed. It didn't catch on in the U.S., which was nice. I gotta actually find out what I can remember where I actually put mine. I don't know where I put mine. It's somewhere in this house. Somewhere out there. Beneath the boxes. Oh, sorry. I'll break into song on occasion. Just, be safe. All right. What else? I guess we can play some more music if you guys want to. You guys want some more music? Yes, no, maybe so. I'll take that as a no. Let's see. What else can we pull up, actually? Let's see here. Why is my computer being weird now? Gotta love when it's weird. It's just fun when it's weird. Let's do this. This is a song called Rising. It's actually an instrumental. I'm not exactly sure what state it's in, but we'll find out. Let me share here. All right. Let's go. And that was Rising by CJP. Follow him on YouTube at Forgotten One Music. Here on WCAJP. Sorry. I still like doing that voice. It's a lot of fun. But yeah, and that one was inspired a lot by Alan Parsons' project, just because they do a lot of instrumentals, not only for openings of albums, most famously Cirrus off of Eye in the Sky, which most people know as the entrance theme for the Chicago Bulls during the Michael Jordan era, but also actually led into Eye in the Sky. But they did a lot of other instrumental tracks, on at least one on each album, which I always thought was really, really nice and really cool. And a lot of people give Alan Parsons Project kind of flack for not exactly sure why. Of course, it was a joke in Austin Powers. Is I call it the Alan Parsons Project, but really, I understood what he was doing. Is he was trying to make be a producer like Stanley Kubrick was a director, or Wes Anderson. When you see a Stanley Kubrick movie or a Tim Burton movie or a Wes Anderson movie or a Wes Craven movie, they all have a very distinct style because of who's directing it. So he was trying to create a distinctive style because of who was producing it. And of course, he cut his teeth famously at Abbey Road, was one of the engineers on Dark Side of the Moon. Then, of course, produced all of his other albums. And you really listen back to him, just how crisp and they still sound 40 years on from when they were recorded. So they do sound amazing. Why are so many directors named Wes? I'm not sure. I'm not sure on that one. Well, I can only think of Wes Craven and Wes Anderson. I can't think of anyone else. And there's Wesley Crusher, but he's not a director. And I just want him to shut up. But yeah, Paul's still having some issues, so he may not be able to hop on tonight. And that's okay. We can always reschedule. I understand technical difficulties. I worked in IT for several years, and I fight my computer on a daily basis. I think sometimes it looks at me like I owe it something. I'm not exactly sure what I owe it, but I apparently owe it something. And, we go from there. But, the one thing about self-recording, I will say is, especially nowadays with the advent of YouTube and Rumble and all these other alternate distribution platforms, Spotify, is the barrier to entry to putting out your own music is lower. But then the problem with that becomes it's a whole lot harder to get discovered, and for people to find your music and be able to promote your music because there's just so much out there. And it's kind of one of those blessing and curse kind of things, where you want to have stuff going on, but it is again harder to figure out what you're doing and figure out what you're wanting to listen to. Although I will say, every once in a while the YouTube algorithm will spit out something cool, and that's how I discovered Japanese jazz fusion from the early 80s because of a YouTube recommendation of a band called Cassiopeia. And that first album blew my absolute mind. It was incredible. But of course, I can't play it here because, YouTube's copyright system will ding me. And, I'm not monetized yet, but then it may hurt, when I do get to that level. But, c'est la vie. It is what it is. It is what it is. Why is that not pulling up? Oh, there it is. Okay. All right, then. Let's see. What else can we do? What else can we do? I don't need that notification. You can go away. Let's see, maybe you're in another spot. Let me try to find you. File list. You tiny little file list. I'm looking for that file list. Where are you? Sorry. Let's see. Not sure which one this is. No, that's not what I was looking for. Anywho, what to talk about. It's so hard to talk by yourself when other people are not here yet. But I know Paul's working on it, so hopefully he'll pop in at least for a little bit on the stream. While I got you here, though, I will say if you do want to support the channel in another way, since we're not quite monetized yet, I do actually have some merch, as weird as that sounds. So you can go to Teesprings. The link is in the description below. And you can put my name on your chest and hold me close to your heart. Okay, I won't say that again. That was weird. But yeah, you've got, of course, the GoldenEye watch with the logo on it. And then you just got your standard tees and hoodies and whatnots. And then if you are so bold, there's stationery and even a Switch case, because I'm a gamer. I love the Nintendo Switch. So sue me. So you get your game stuff get yourself a thing there. But yeah, Teespring, my store at da007f.creator-spring.com. Support the channel. Support your local artists. That's what they're here for. And I do have a Bandcamp link as well, so you can actually purchase music that I have made on Bandcamp as well. Again, support your local artists. That's what we're here for. We're here to try to spread the musical love for everyone. I'm using quite a few actually, because oh shoot, I'm trying to remember what all I have loaded in Cakewalk actually, because actually I probably shouldn't open that while I'm doing a recording because it's going to be weird. But let's see what happens. Pull you up. Because again, poor boy. But thankfully, there's quite a few still, free VSTs that you can find out there that have a lot of good sounds to them. I know Labs is one that I've used quite a bit because they've got a lot of kind of off the wall instruments out there that they've done things for. They've got a great BBC orchestra patch that you can use. That they have, of course, more instrumentation and stuff if you get the full version, but for their free version, it's actually quite good. XLN's Addictive Drums, I use those for doing drum recording. Just use a electronic kit to run the MIDI and then clean it up after the fact with that. Retro Vibe Orbits. I'm using what else am I using? I don't use the Contact Player too much because it just takes forever to load. Synth Master Player I've been using quite a bit because it's got a lot of stuff that you can play around with. Dext for that DX7 sound. I did find a Poly 800 synth here recently because my bass player Tulsa, he's actually got an actual real Poly 800 from the 80s that he's working on getting fixed. So I've got those sounds. For drums lately, I've been using DR84 because it's got really good, synth wave, old school drum machine sound. FB 7999 I've been using, micro keys, easy keys. I've used a lot of stuff because they've got a really good Mellotron that's a whole lot cheaper than Mellotune that I've used before. I still use B4 too for organ sounds. I've had a copy of that for years. So that's really kind of VCV rack. I'll have to check that out. Thank you for the suggestion, my friend. VCV rack. I better write that down or I'll forget it. Notepad. Where is a little notepad? VCV rack. I'll have to check that out. That's awesome, man. Thank you. Oh, he's here. He's here. Let me welcome Paul Hadouken. How are you doing, my friend?
I am so sorry, dude. I am so bad.
Yeah, technology can be a biatch.
And I think in the end, I realized it's because I'm trying to do everything on an older computer. Everything was working with OBS just fine recently, and I guess StreamYards and things just don't want to work together. So I just ended up being on my phone.
It happens. It happens. If you want to let the people know who you are and what you do and kind of where you got started, because I've been talking for a while now, and I think I'm running out of things to talk about.
Yeah, it's oh my god, 40 minutes. Oh my god, it's already over. All right, guys, see ya. Thanks for coming. Holy hell. So I am Paul Hadouken. That's not my real name. But Hadouken. And I've been playing music for forever, man. Recently, I only just started getting like noticed by people and all that because the old Sky Scrollers right here.
OneCast.
Yeah, and I mod for them. And when Craig came back with the side scrollers and all that, I used to make music on his old website, Screw Attack. I was one of the community members, and Screw Attack was very big on community content creator. But, basically they were ahead of its time and stuff like that. And everyone was doing remixes and all that, and I was doing metal renditions of old school, old retro games and stuff like that. And but that's all. I'm getting ahead of myself. Where I very first got started was I was like 13 years old, and 12, 13 years old, and my buddies and I wanted to start a band because we loved we loved the bands that we were listening to. I met my buddies in like 4th, 5th grade, which was like 1998, 1999. So just a great year for all sorts of bands coming out.
Mm-hmm.
And we're like, let's start a band. And I originally wanted to play drums, and my parents were like, no, that's too loud.
I remember when I was younger, my sister always wanted a drum set because she's almost 10 years older than me. Parents, we were always living in apartments, and they're like, no.
Yeah,
so,
yeah, especially
she moved out, got her own apartment, got a drum set first thing.
Yeah, nice.
Kind of started out, but then when I got into junior high and I wanted to play drums, and I was in band in school, and then they got me a drum set for my 8th grade year. And
nice.
My sister still has this on VHS. We recorded a video of my grandparents' house and my mom and dad and all that, and of my first car, and I had in the back seat that drum set, and I was like teasing her for having, ooh, what's this? It's a drum set. He's like, you bastard.
That's awesome. But yeah, no,
are close. We tease each other incessantly, so yeah.
That's how siblings should be.
Yep.
I got, speaking of siblings, that's kind of how I also got started. I don't come from a musical family at all. Except the only music the only music in my family was when my middle brother, I got 2 older brothers. They're 8 and 9 years older than me, so I'm a baby. I'm like like almost a decade younger than them, and so they were older, and they curate the music, or they just show me whatever they're listening to, and they'd be like, hey Polly, check out Rage Against the Machine, hey Polly, check out Incubus, hey Polly, check out and they'd keep showing me all these bands, and I'm like, I love it all. And my middle brother, he actually got a guitar. He got an Ibanez RG, whatever the hell it was back in the day. And I still got it. I still have the guitar. It was his guitar. He bought it. He played it for a little bit. Him and his buddies were going to start a band. Didn't work out. And then a few years later, me and my buddy, well, he was like 16, 17 at the time when he was trying to do that. But then I turned like 12, 13. And I asked my parents, I'm like, hey, can I get a drum set? They're like, no, your brother got a guitar that he doesn't use. Go learn that. And I'm like, fucking Polish parents. That's their logic. Yep. They're like, oh, you want to play one instrument? No, there's one sitting in the basement. There's an old accordion in the basement. Go learn that.
Instrument. You play this instrument, yes? No,
yes.
No new instrument. You play this one.
Yes.
Devil Made Me Do It is Beelzebub. He's saying you're lying. He's saying your dad was Jerry Garcia.
He was Jerry Garcia. Actually, Cherry Garcia, the ice cream. That's my dad. No. But no, yeah. So yeah, I ended up learning the guitar. That's and the only musical lessons that because I'm self-taught. The only lesson I ever got was because I remember you were saying last week that your sister, I think, was like kind of the one that kind of taught you some stuff. My brother he doesn't even play the instrument. All he taught me was how to read tabs, guitar tabs. So he's like, okay, this is the fret, this is the string, have at it, figure out the rest.
Well, here's
and I
the
did.
question then. What was the first song you learned?
It was I remember the bands. I just can't remember exactly the songs. I remember it was a Blink-182 song and a Metallica song. Those were the two tabs that I had in front of me. I think Metallica, maybe Enter Sandman. Yeah. I think it was Enter Sandman, and the other one, Blink-182. It was either Damn It by Blink-182 or Adam's Song, I think it is. So I think it was one of those. I think it was actually Damn It.
Yep.
Yeah, that was it. That was the first riff. It was that.
I could date myself because the first song I learned on guitar was What I Like About You by the Romantics.
Nice. That's awesome. Yeah, no, it's so from there, yeah, I just started learning tabs, and then learning the tabs of bands that I actually liked and listened to, and went from there. And then came the recording, which is what we're here for. Because once you start learning the instrument, that's stage one. Stage two is learning, songs, other people's songs. Stage three is making your own songs, and then stage four is like, I gotta get these songs played back to me. The only time I can hear these songs is when I'm playing them. I need to hear it played back to me. I want to add layers to it. So naturally, I go to it's surprising. I was like 13 years old. I think because I had my brothers had friends that were good with computers. Because I remember being 13 years old already sailing the high seas for
well, I mean, basically the
programs.
2000 to 2010 was the prime time for,
right. And
in Tortuga.
Yeah, which is surprising. I was sailing the high seas in 2003. Like I don't even remember what the I don't even remember what I was probably still using. The old website that everyone still uses today. It's been around forever, and I remember getting my first, snagging my first program, Cool Edit Pro, which is eventually became Adobe Auditions. Got bought out by Adobe, and that was like the first like DAW that I really I messed with it. I stuck with that until it became Adobe Auditions 3, and that's when I upgraded, and I'm like, hey, it's the same thing, just a little bit more upgraded. And but before that, I remember doing something really I was a MacGyver. Like, I would get my songs, I would record in whatever means possible. Before I figured out about DAWs, workstations, I just simply put my guitar amp right next to my monitor, because if anybody knows early 2000 monitors, the old CRTs, sometimes would have a little microphone right at the top of the thing. So I would aim my amp at that, and the program I would use was just that normal Windows recorder. You just hit record, and it would only do like a minute, I think, of recording. But if you slowed it down, it would stretch out the audio file, and then you record over that, and then you'd have like an extra 3 minutes or something like that. So I was just recording like just guitar parts, no layering, just 3 minutes of recording random guitar. That's how it all started, and then it led to, hey, how do I layer these? How do I record? How do I get drums in on that? So that's when I figured out about DAWs and drum machines and all that good fun stuff.
My friend Jeff was asking, at what stage do I get paid? I'm still trying to figure that one out myself.
We don't. When you become a semi-successful YouTuber, the first time I ever got paid was doing a stream not too long ago, a few weeks ago, because I've been doing live jam streams with my band. We're just rehearsing and shooting the shit, hanging out with the chat and all that. I've done like 3 streams of that. It's been fun. And I also do just like production streams where I'm just sitting here, making songs. I made a song for Dermy. I made the theme song for Get Ranked for Beelzebub and all that. So I did a stream of me just making, from start to finish, the production of that, and the first time I ever got paid, like a decent payment was when somebody donated, dropped 350 50 bombs, and I'm like, I got paid $150 for fucking just sitting here on stream, making some music. That's the most I ever. That's the most I ever got paid. All the gigs I ever got paid, all that money from gigs just went straight to gas.
Pretty much, yeah.
20 bucks for the whole band. There's 5 of you, split that $5 each. We're like, fuck it, just throw it into the gas. Whoever drove here gets the $20. What's up, Jonathan Davis? He hangs out in my chat, watches us jam, and he's also hangs out in Side Scrollers chat.
Yep. And this is my bass player, John Moss. We just call him Tulsa.
Mm-hmm.
We're together every Sunday afternoon playing.
Right on.
Ready. But yeah, here's how old school I am. I had an old compact Desk Pro 8088 machine and had bought a one MPS system with a 401 interface. That's old.
Some of those words don't even make sense to me.
Greek that you're speaking to me. I don't understand it.
I know what compact desktops are. That was the computer I was. It was a compact computer with a compact monitor that had a little microphone at the top, and that I would just aim my 10 amp or 10 volt 10 watt amp little thing, just aim it at there. It's funny, I would put it on a wooden, the computer desk was a wooden computer desk, so not realizing sound waves back then, but the whole vibration, the amp would vibrate the whole desk and it'd get that extra beefy tone. It sounded terrible, but it was fun.
I mean, it's experimenting. You're just learning,
Exactly. You got to start somewhere. You're
always going to get better at it as you go.
For sure.
Gas and beer, yeah, that was pretty much, yeah.
That's all the money went to, was gas and beer.
Yep. That's where it goes to.
I saw DJ Axis said, "What's up? What's up, DJ Axis?"
Yeah, DJ's going to be on the meme stream this Saturday.
Oh, nice, awesome.
And our thumbnail where he's actually got two turntables.
On the
phone.
Just 2 turntables. The microphone's down there. You can't see it.
Technically, you can still see the fingers on the record. I couldn't get those off in Photoshop. For a meme joke, I'm not going that far.
There you go. That's awesome. Yeah, no, it's fun because Melee Games, me, DJ Axis, we all kind of hang out in the Melee Games Discord and stream, and Melee Games was kind of like the first ones to kind of feature our music. So every time you watch a Melee Games stream, you're hearing DJ Axis or me, simply just because we're all fans of Side Scrollers, and I like to go and seeing what the other G2s are streaming, and I ended up on Melee Games stream, and I'm like, hey, you need music? And then I ended up talking to No Green Rocks. I'm like, hey, you need music? He was like, absolutely. So I linked them a Google Drive that has my whole library of just whatever I got. I gotta I gotta tighten up my library because there's more tracks I gotta add on to there. So just more stuff for people to use, and some re-edits because. Man, it's funny. I've been editing and recording myself for years and years, probably 20 years at this point. I'm 35. Yeah, I started probably before 15. And I still can't get like my finger on mixing. I can't get the mix just like it's that chase for the perfect mix. And I've been chasing it ever since. And I'm almost there. I'm like, oh, my things always end up too bassy or too I'm still learning. I'm like meditating. I'll listen to songs and be like, how does the vocals come out so clear? And how does everything sound so clear,
Did you ever see that commercial? And I can't even remember what it was for, but you see a young woman in a vocal booth and she's singing and you're inside the control room and it sounds great. Sounds fantastic. And the guy's just tweaking and moving, fladers just flying all over the place. And then when they slide into the actual room, it literally sounds like she's strangling a cat.
Yep. It's a miracle what audio engineers do.
Oh yeah, especially with technology these days.
These days, you honestly don't even need. Uh, I'm sure I could download a bunch of plugins to help me do everything, but I'm trying to hone in on this stuff old school. Like I want to be like, yup, this frequency is supposed to be dedicated for this, and this frequency is supposed to. Like I want to know,
Yeah.
like precisely. Because I also forgot to mention that, or when I turned like around 19 years old, I did after high school. I didn't go to college or anything, but I did this like trade program and I got a certificate for when I finished it, I got an audio certified audio engineered certificate, and the thing was called, I don't know if it still exists. I'm going to look it up. The Recording Connection.
Mm-hmm.
And what it did was it was basically kind of like a half online school, half not online. But like the only part of it was online was like signing up for it. This was all based in like California, but they would make make deals with studios in your town to be basically the engineers that work there would be your teacher and your mentor. So I ended up going to a recording studio around here in Chicago called 35th Street Studios, and the owner that ran everything and was the head engineer and all that would be my teacher. He would sit down. The book would chapter 1, what is a sound wave? Chapter 2, chapter 3, mixing, all that stuff, and it was like a schooling, but you're in a studio, and I'm sitting in on sessions, live recording sessions, mixing sessions. They even, I remember a couple times they'd left me in the booth, the studio booth, to do some simple mixing for vocals as the rest of them were out like doing whatever, partying and shit like that. And it was really cool because it put you in actual studio, real life situations, real life sessions, instead of like the college experience where you're just with a teacher and notebooks and whatever and all that. And it was cool. And I learned a lot. The guy that his name was Jerry Johnson. He's an amazing guitar player. He told me he even played guitar on a couple of Michael Jackson tracks. He's a great. He now he tours. He doesn't work at that studio anymore, but he tours like with a jazz band. And this dude shreds, and he taught me a lot. He was a cool, down to earth guy, and we would sit there and do the whatever, like the homework and whatever. We'd do that real quick, but then we'd just sit there and chill and just talk, just about whatever, like life. And then it all came back to recording, and like I don't know, he was a really good mentor, and he was he really was impressed with me. He was like, holy shit. I'd show him some mixes that I did and all that, and he's like, holy shit, you just did this at your house? I'm like, yeah, man. But that's when I was coming up right as technology was being like, was really good. Like I was right on the edge of old school technology and the new school technology. It's funny because when you invited me onto here, I started just reminiscing about like, oh, what's some old recording tricks that I did, or some just some things that we did. And I thought back to my very first band. When we tried to do our demo, before we opted in to find some guy with a computer and a basement studio, I ended up buying like $100 4-track tape recorder, and I was like, oh shit, like this is some like old school record. Like we're digital age was right there, like DAW interfaces were still right, but for the cheaper option, you could still do the old school way. And man, that was fun. I'm not gonna lie. When we did it was just a simple thing. You put a tape in. You had 4 knobs for the levels. You choose a track to record on, and we went creative with it, man. Like first we did the drum track. We had my drummer put headphones on as I played the guitar parts, and he just did that. Then from there, I took the drums home, layered a guitar, layered a bass. And for vocals, I remember getting really, because I'm a big fan of when I play guitar, I use a multi effects processor pedal. So like I got all instead of one individual, it's just a board with all the effects. So I use that for the vocals to add delay, compression. I run the mic through the guitar processor out into the 4-track tape recorder, and I wish I had those. I wish I had the tapes or somehow got it had that track to listen back to it. But that was fun, man. Like uh, and back to the studio I worked at, I interned at. The guy mentor Jerry Johnson, he would tell me about the old recording days of slicing tapes up and taping it to, like, holy hell, man, like I can't even imagine that. That's some hard work, slicing up tapes.
I remember doing that in college when we did electronic music, and we would record to an old Tascam. It wasn't like a 2-inch tape; it was just a little 1/4-inch tape. But
Yeah,
we'd use the Moog synthesizer. We'd record something and then actually have to splice it and reverse it and actually do reverse tape looping. And it was a lot of fun. It was time consuming.
yeah,
Very time consuming, but it really made me appreciate how better we have it now, as opposed to
right,
having you can just simply turn on a VST to flip that audio if you want to reverse it.
right, absolutely, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But again, that also I think can breed some laziness too, where you don't actually learn why it does what it does.
Yep.
Why does a compressor do what it does? What's the difference between a compressor and a gate?
Yeah,
Using
yeah.
reverb over chorus or delay. What type of delay? So learning those can definitely help. But I mean, it's incredibly easy to make music these days.
The way I like to the way I put it into perspective of how music was recorded back then, when they had to be innovative and they had to, you know, tape wasn't cheap. They couldn't just record unlimitedly onto something. They had to buy tape. They had to, and I always say like the 80s and like 90s was the peak music because they're already a couple decades into, from the Beatles, when that's when they started getting creative with the layering and the process and of all that. But by the 80s, it's like they had to put out like perfect, like they had to get the best quality out of the band, out of like they had to do, um, they had to really bust their ass. And the analogy that I like to use is back then they used to make music the way a sculptor would use marble to. Back then, they were basically sculpting with marble. These days, they're basically building sculptures with Legos.
Yeah,
that's how music's made today.
That's really a great analogy for that.
They're just building blocks.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of sculpting it perfectly by hand, you could build some great things with Legos. I'm not gonna lie, but you're gonna compare that to a perfect sculpture that was chiseled out. That's how
that's gonna last the time.
It's gonna last, exactly. And all this Lego music that's been coming out the last decade or so because of how easy recording and technology has gotten. It's not going to withstand the test of time. It's going to crumble. It's going to people are going to forget it so quick. That's why they're already reusing. You go to the grocery store and you're like, are they playing Eiffel 64's Blue? No, that's someone else ripping off the music. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of it also is because so many of the musicians back, basically up until the last, I think, 10 years, they all did some kind of schooling or some kind of thing to learn how to play music. So when you look at it, I saw this graph the other day and it blew my mind. And what it is, it's showing you the percentage of songs with a key change in it since 1961.
Wow.
Actually, let me open this so we can actually see this. I mean, look at that. I mean, you can definitely tell this is when the drugs kicked in. here in the late 60s.
Yeah.
And here's when the cocaine started to kick in.
Yep.
And then there was the crack. And then, but now, I mean, you have to go up to almost 2019 before there's a song and this is the Billboard Hot 100. These are the top 100 hits in the country.
Wow. That's insane.
It just shows you how disposable, unfortunately, a lot of music has become.
Yeah.
Because it's so overproduced. I mean, you look at, like a Beyonce album and there's what, 8, 9, 15 producers. And then you look at something like Bohemian Rhapsody. One, it's Freddie Mercury.
Yeah.
That song.
Yeah, I remember that meme from what was already like 10 years ago, where it's like side by side comparison of how many producers on each song, and like, yeah, man, I remember I used to say that meme all the time. I'm like, look at Freddie Mercury.
Yeah, but
for real,
he studied music, and a lot of because music's kind of come so easy to produce. I think we've kind of almost diluted the waters when it comes to production in a lot of ways. And it reminds me of the video game crash of 83.
Yeah.
Because if you look at all the just junk that was coming out on the Atari VCS between about 81 to 83, there was no quality control at all.
Yeah.
And it caused the whole system to collapse on itself. Of course, really, E.T. was the straw that broke the camel's back on that one, and I can't blame the programmer because he only literally had 6 weeks to make that game. 6 weeks to program an entire game, so I can't blame him. I blame Warner Brothers and I blame Atari for that one. But be that as it may, that was really because that was the first game people actually returned. They're like, "This is crap. I don't want to play this."
Wow. Yeah.
And this is even back when people actually still read the manuals.
I'm just thinking, I'm like, I wonder what song is going to be the ET to bring music rushing back.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of it is still the best music I've found is on the independent scene.
Yeah.
Nothing out of the major labels has really interested me in a decade. It really.
For sure.
So I tend to spend more time either listening to older music that I've never listened to before, or trying to find newer people that are on the independent scene. Like there's a great band out of Boulder, Colorado called the Yoppers.
The Yoppers.
And there is just 2 acoustics and a drummer, but they play it like they're a heavy metal band.
Oh.
And they've just got a raw energy. They've got great music, great lyrics. Even great production for what they do, but they're really not that known because they haven't really hit the mainstream. Although they did get one of their songs in an episode of Happy, which I was really happy to see.
Cool.
I don't know if you've seen that show or not.
Yeah, I like that show. It was good.
It's the episode where he goes and plays poker with the Dwight Yoakam looking guy.
Okay.
The song playing in the background is from the Yoppers.
Okay.
But and DJ Access Rice, really kind of the start of the 2000s, because again, it became so much easier to produce music that the record labels just kind of threw it because they didn't have to play. You didn't have to pay people who are classically trained or went to Juilliard or went to all those other schools for engineering. Went to MIT or anything like that. They could just hire any Joe Schmo off the street who had a YouTube channel.
Yeah,
how to halfway do this stuff.
Yeah, because that's the thing is I always think about like why music was so great. It's because record labels were invested. They're like, all right, we need to get the best music, the best musicians. We need to get the best of everything. We need to get the best takes. This is why they loaded up a bunch of. That's why drugs were always involved because musicians play better when they're either drunk or on one thing or another. They're gonna get not just that, but stress. So they'll drug them up, stress them out, and then get the best. That's why a lot of musicians are all messed up if you think about it.
That's very.
It's a double. it's a double-edged sword, you know, because you're like, oh, I really don't like that they're abusing the artist and taking advantage of them. But we wouldn't have all this great music, though.
Yeah. Well, and then you also have to think of, you know, the death of the studio musician too.
Yeah.
You really don't hear about studio musicians much anymore. But I mean, back in the 60s, when you had the Wrecking Crew. And then, of course, in the 70s and 80s, you had pretty much every member of Toto was a incredible studio musician who played on like freaking everything.
Right on.
But you don't really have that anymore. You don't have that, you know, cadre of musicians who people rely on to make their stuff sound good.
Yeah. That's a good point. It makes me think, because even towards like, I say like the last great era of music was like the late 2000s, when new metal bands like Korn and Slipknot and Limp Bizkit were going up against on TRL, Total MTV, pop bands, Britney Spears versus Limp Bizkit. You know, that whole era was like the last, you know, great era of music, I feel. And in that whole new metal scene, which was what I, you know, dove into and was really a big fan of. After they did their band, they'd have their one or two albums. Then a lot of those musicians started becoming studio, you know, musicians, popping on other other bands' albums and such. And yeah, you don't see that anymore, because you don't even see just bands anymore. Everyone's a DJ now.
Pretty much.
It's kind of sad. Even in my local scene, you know, like I played in a band since I was like 13. So, you know, it's funny, actually, the high school I went to, which is the high school I went to it's called Curie here in Chicago, and the drummer or two of the members from Disturbed went to that very same high school. And yeah, it's funny, like a lot of that's like kind of like an artsy high school. I know a lot of musicians from like not just my graduating class, but you know, the adjacent neighboring, like a lot of talented people, man. Like a lot of people that I know are musicians or artists. They all went to my high school or somewhere around here. A lot of artsy people here in Chicago, and yeah, I see a lot of people that used to play in bands, metal bands, or rock bands, whatever. Now they're DJs. And I'm like, what happened, man? You used to play guitar. Now you're just hitting the space button on your laptop.
Because they can get paid a lot more and not have to split it. It's a lot less equipment to haul around. I mean, you know, if you look at the band that I'm in doing the covers, I mean, we've got a full PA with 18s and 15s and horns, and you know, you got to have a full rack of power amplifiers, and that's a lot of equipment to lug around. When you can just lug around a one speaker that's powered, and you're done.
Yeah, it is tough, because yeah, like I've played in bands since, like I said, 13. I was 13 years old. Excuse me. You know, I started off with my band, the band with my buddies. That lasted by like.
You dropped there for a second.
Oh, sorry, am I back?
You're back.
All
You're
right,
back.
Cool. Sorry. But yeah, no. I played from like till like 2000, from like 2003 to like 2010. I played in like my original band, and yeah, man, like trying to not just make music, but keep 3 to 4 or 5 people in line, and you know, keep them on the same path, and you know, going along. We're like, all right, we're still in this, right? This isn't just a fun party game for you, right? We're like kind of dedicated. It's hard, man. It's hard to keep people interested and not have egos and all that. Bands are hard. That's kind of why I'm really glad to be in the band that I am right now, because it is still with friends that I've known since forever. Actually, these guys that I play with are like 5 years younger than me. So when I was a teenager, like 15, 16, playing in this band, they were like 10, 11. And they looked up to me, and today, even today, they were like, dude, I can't believe I'm in a band with this guy. I grew up watching him, you know, play and stuff like that. So like I know that they're role players. I know that like I don't need talent at this point, and they're decent musicians. They're nothing they're not like, they're still learning. They're like, you know, intermediate, you know, all that. And at this point in my stage, I would much rather have someone who's trying and is a role player versus someone who's really good and is a wild card.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And Jeff actually does make a good point here. Lars kind of was right back in the day about the whole Napster thing. The problem is that they went at it so wrong because they went after the fans directly. Like,
right.
No, it's your labels that are causing this problem of access and things like that. Because the technology was changing and the industry just refused to change with it. Streaming was coming, digital was coming, and they just turned a blind eye to it until it kicked them in the money keister. And then they're like, oh no, we got to do something about this. So he was right to an extent. They went about it the wrong way.
Right. It was really the technology was the death of labels. Mm-hmm. And DJ. Well, see, you stayed a DJ, and you. I like DJ Access because his music still sounds like the early 2000s. It doesn't sound like he's trying to do the new trap or whatever the hip, whatever's hip today. Like, I like music that people are passionate about, stay true to it. That's why when bands suddenly switch their genre, it's like, it's upset. Like, I understand trying to innovate and change and all that, but to completely change the look and style of your band because that one hit really hit. And what comes to mind is Sugar Ray. I don't know if anyone's heard of Sugar Ray's first album, but they used to tour with Korn and Limp Bizkit and Kid Rock, but then Fly became a hit, and that's what we're making from now on, Fly.
Yep.
Sad. Mark McGrath could have been a cool rock star.
Yeah, well, I mean, and just unfortunately, that's and a lot of it may have been pressure from the label.
Absolutely,
saying, hey, hit. We need more like this.
It is. That's why. Oh man, there's a scene from the movie Biodome. I don't know if you're familiar with Biodome. The Pauly Shore.
Very familiar.
Okay, there's a scene where they. What are they doing? They're sitting there. Pauly Shore's like, "Oh, I wanted to be in a rock band ever since I figured out I could do this with your finger." And then they're like, "Plus, you only knew one song, Iron Man. Iron Man does whatever an iron can. Pancake flat like a glove." And then he's like, "That's Spider-Man. Black Sabbath did Iron Man." It's like, what are you, some kind of rocket scientist? Yes. But he says right there, also, I wanted to stop being a rock star because of the reality of the corporate rock world sucks. And I remember just because that is when I was like, I want to be a rock star. And I haven't even started learning my instrument. But that line from that movie always just stuck back there. And I'm like, pay attention to that. Keep an eye out. And yeah, man, that line is so true.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Very much. Yeah. Well, I mean, a lot of kids, that they see someone on TV, they're like, I want to be like that,
Yeah.
Unfortunately, there's not a lot of really bands to kind of emulate anymore because everyone's on YouTube,
Yeah.
But one person, from talking about Lars Ulrich, the other one that a lot of people are really mad at is Don Henley, and I can kind of understand why. Have you seen the whole thing between him and Rick Beato?
No, who's Don Henley?
The drummer for the Eagles.
Okay, and what happened?
Well, if you play anything Eagles on YouTube, even if you're pausing every 2 seconds, he's not gonna ding you for a copyright claim. It's gonna be a copyright strike.
Oof.
You cannot play the Eagles unless he's making a dime from it. But if you're, say if you're wanting to, to teach it and, putting ads on it's fine. I have no problem with that. But striking a channel for it when you're actually trying to, propagate that music and talk about it and teach about it, I can see why Beato's pissed at him. I mean, I get, trying to make your money, but you also have to remember that the people that knew the Eagles, they're dying off. At some point, he's going to die off. And what is that going to do for him other than make more people's not going to listen to their music anymore?
Right, that's going to be the legacy of the Eagles. Is like, oh, at the end, he just was striking everyone on YouTube.
Yeah. I mean, you've got to find that balance between, yes, we're musicians. We want to get paid for what we do, but we also want to spread our music,
Right. Yeah, that's
more and more people to listen to it and enjoy it, because that's why we create it. We don't. Most musicians don't create music for the money. They create it because they love music.
Yep.
Oh, when Randy Meisner passed? I did not know that. He was the bass player, I believe. Yeah, he was the bass player that came. I can't remember if he was the first bass player or the second bass player. I cannot remember that one, because I never was a huge Eagles fan.
I'm familiar with the hits and all that, but never dove too deep.
There's sometimes I feel like the dude in The Big Lebowski.
Yeah.
I had a rough day, and I hate the Eagles, man. Get in my cab.
That's great. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
let your fans, let your fans share music, because the fans, once they start feeling like you're doing this for the money or you're selling out, that's when they turn on you.
Mhm.
You want to keep the fans feeling like fans, and unfortunately, it's very hard to keep your music a business and your fans dedicated. Finding that balance.
It's a balancing act.
Yeah. There's few bands that I feel like as long as you're not pissing your fans off at this point, you're probably doing a good job. Which most, especially post shit, really 2016, post Trump and politics just blowing up, and if you've voted one party, you're fucking shunned from an entire fan base or whatever. So, but I feel like a few the best bands are the ones that keep it mysterious. Like bands I'm thinking of, like Tool. They've kept it. I mean, the singer Maynard is a very, very cool, very smart dude, very intelligent dude, but he just doesn't really say much. He keeps to himself. He has a winery. He does his wine, and he really just makes music and does his wine. Another band that just kind of like Queens of the Stone Age, you don't really hear out there. They're just, I like bands that are just making their music and appreciate the fans. It's like. And
then that's another thing with social media that I think is kind of ruined a lot of things is, I didn't really want to know a lot of people's politics, because I don't really talk about mine that much. I don't really want to know yours, because then it's going to kind of color what I think about you. And I'd rather not have that.
Yep.
Actors are even worse about this.
Oh yeah.
They put their opinions out everywhere. I'm sorry. You're an actor. Just act.
Yeah.
You're a drummer. Just drum. That's what I want to see you for. I want to see you drum. I want to see you dribble the basketball. I want to see you, hit the pole vault. That's really what I've come to these different places to see.
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of back to what I was saying about bandmates. You don't want, you want role players. Play your role. You're not the role of the preacher. You're not the role of the whatever. You're the role of the actor. That's your life role. You're a musician. You're this. You're that. Don't go, oh, now I'm suddenly opinionated. We all are, bitch. We all have opinions. Shut the fuck up.
I mean, it's literally, opinions are like back tacos. Everyone's got one.
Exactly. And Dermy will find yours.
Yes, he will. All right. Well, we've gone to a little bit over just because we had some technical difficulties.
I do appreciate it, and sorry for wasting your time.
No, you're perfectly good. It happens. It's technology.
It's
also Murphy's Law. Anything that can go wrong will go wrong. And I have my own addendum to that, which is if something doesn't go wrong, something's definitely wrong.
Yep, that's a good one. Or will go wrong very shortly. It's like, oh, things are working now. The karma gods are looking at you like, oh, you think things are just working now? Wait till later. Like, seriously, things.
It's just like, hold my beer.
Yeah, for real. Like, I'm still baffled. Like, I get that StreamYards didn't want to work, but then suddenly, like, the mixer that I was just using suddenly wasn't working, and I'm like, what? None of the USB. Like, the thing was just like, yeah, we can't detect USB stuff anymore. It's like, you just did. I don't get it. My mouse is working on the other side. I don't get it. I'm confused. But
usually at that point, I just pull the IT crowd and like, have you tried turning it off and on again?
I did 4 times.
Oh, jeez. I hate when that happens.
I know. I was like, oh, I'm going to try one more restart. And then at that point, it was like a half hour. I'm like, I'm just going to get my phone ready, which even my phone, the battery is like, this is a like 6-year phone that I got. I got a Pixel 3A. And the battery is just like decided to crap out. So whenever it's not plugged in, it's like battery 190, and it's going to die. So I can't be off the charger. Luckily, I found an extension cord and was able to.
Well, go ahead and promote your channel, or where people can find you, and how they can support you and do all that.
Absolutely, I am pretty much Paul Hadouken on all things. Twitter, I'm on YouTube, Twitch for the time being, and Rumble, and I'm doing also. I think I'm doing Kick. I got a multi-stream thing, so I go to like 5 different places when I stream. So. But yeah, Paul Hadouken on all those things. I think only Twitch requires a Paul _ Hadouken, but it's easy to find. But yeah, I'm gonna try to start doing more consistent streaming. I realize for streaming and content creation, consistency is the key. Like, if people know that you're doing a thing every Thursday or something, like, that is better than just like randomly like, I'm just gonna pop on. So. I'm trying to do like a schedule where like I do more streaming. I'm gonna try to find a balance between, because I love gaming too, so I want to stream gaming. Me and my girlfriend play a ton of games, and we're gonna probably just start just popping online all the time to stream. But I'm gonna at least do 1 to 2 times a week. Definitely once a week I jam with my band. We call it the Jam Spot. And we just hang out for a couple hours while we rehearse our songs and make new ones. And yeah, we try to, like I said, try to do that at least once a week. And then I'm gonna try to do at least 1 or 2 production streams. That's already 5 days a week. I can't do all that. But I'm gonna try.
Yeah, that's the best you can do. I did want to thank everyone who joined us in the chat. John Moss, Melee K of Melee Games. Jeff Carrico, Paul, who hopped in for a little bit because technology is what it is. Beelzehub with Devil Made Me Do It. Jonathan Davis, DJ Access or Axis. But I want to thank everyone for joining me tonight. Paul, thank you for hopping in.
For sure.
Anytime.
Thank you. Yeah, I'd like to definitely come back on, because I was going to say, like, thank you for doing a music podcast, because, like, music, like, no one's doing music podcasts. Like, everyone wants to talk about entertainment, movies, games, and all that. But, like, what happened? What happened with the music? And that's the thing that's, like, the most at risk of just, like, dying, Like, there's still some movies coming out that's good, and there's still some entertainment you can find, games and all that, but music is really hard to find. So, like, we really need to amplify music as best as we can. So I'd love to come back on as much as often.
Again, remember, we are off next week because I'm taking a vacation. But on, I believe it's the 10th, we're going to have Flawed TV on.
Oh,
love dope. Flawed. Love him quite a bit. We're going to talk sampling.
Nice.
I hated for the longest time until COVID hit and I had to start doing my own stuff. And I'm like, I'm kind of changing my mind on this, because the thing on my channel that blew up was the James Bond stuff with Goldeneye.
Right on, yeah.
Sampling,
Yeah.
So for
sure. Oh, it's funny when you mentioned Flawed. I keep harassing him, saying I'm going to send him some music so he could. So there may be a Paul Hadouken Flawed collab sometime if I harass him enough. I'll send him an email with some tracks. So, yeah.
Awesome. Well, everyone, thank you for joining us. I am CJP. This is the Forgotten OneCast with my guest, Paul Hadouken, and I actually pointed in the right direction for once. Peace out and make music. Just make music, people.
Da, da, da.